matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Miami Marlins in the final game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today on the mound for the Marlins, right-hander Sandy Alcantara, and for the Padres, left-hander Kyle Hart. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 1:10 as the Padres go for a 3-game sweep of the Marlins. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll hear from today's starting pitcher Kyle Hart. We'll hear from today's right fielder Tyler Wade, and we'll also hear from Marlins infielder Ronny Simon. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres come into today's game 31-22. Padres have won 3 in a row. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. Padres entered today in second place in the National League West, 2 games out of first place behind the LA Dodgers. Meanwhile, the Marlins come in 21-32. They won 2 of 3 games against the Angels to begin their 6-game road trip, but now looking to avoid a sweep against the Padres here today. Well, the Padres fell behind big last night, but for a third straight day, they had a rally in them. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Last night, Stephen Kolek had a rough first inning, the Marlins scoring 6 runs to take a 6-0 lead. So it was a tough test for the Padres offense. Fernando Tatis Jr. led off in the bottom half of the first.
1-1 to Fernando. Fly ball to right field, heading towards the corner, racing over is Sanchez. This one is going to be gone. Home run for Fernando. Right down the right field line, just inside the foul pole. And right away, the Padres answer. They now trail 6-1.
In the bottom of the second, the Padres had a rally going. Xander Bogaerts drew a leadoff walk. Jake Cronenworth singled. There were 2 on with 1 out for Tyler Wade.
Here's Tyler Wade. First and second, 1 out, second inning. First pitch swing, ground ball to left, diving play, but it's off the glove of Simone. They're going to send Xander Bogaerts, and the Padres now trail 6-2. Leaper's going to hold up Jake Cronenworth, who was thinking about trying to score. The throw goes home. It gets away from the catcher. Now Jake's going to try to come, and he's going to score. Padres get 2 runs.
So 2 runs on that play. Padres trailed 6-3 after 2 innings. In the bottom of the third, Padres got it going against Max Meyer again. There were runners on first and second with 1 out. Xander Bogaerts at the plate.
Runner goes. The pitch is swung on. Ground ball up the middle. Fielded by the second baseman, but he misses it. It's going to go under his glove. Manny is going to score. Jackson Merrill is heading over to third base. The Padres now trail 6-4.
So with Jackson Merrill on third, Jake Cronenworth at a sac fly to center. That made it a 6-5 game. On to the bottom of the fourth inning. Padres had runners on first and third. Nobody out for Luis Arraez.
1-1 to Arraez. Fly ball left field. This one may fall in, and it will. Base hit for Luis Arraez. Tyler Wade is going to score from third, and the Padres have tied this ball game up 6-6 in the fourth.
On to the bottom of the fifth inning. Game still tied at 6. Marlins reliever Cade Gibson on the mound. Jake Cronenworth led off with a single. Fernando Tatis Jr. hit a 2-out single to get Cronenworth the second. That set the table for Luis Arraez.
1 to Arraez. Line drive up the middle for a base hit. Jake Cronenworth is rounding third. He's heading home. Here comes the throw. It's not in time. Padres lead 7-6. Luis Arraez coming through once again.
In the eighth inning, Jackson Merrill provided some insurance.
The 3-2 again to Jackson. Swung on high fly ball to deep right field. This one is going to be gone into the seats. Home run for Jackson Merrill, his 5th of the season. That gives the Padres an 8-6 lead here in the 8th.
Jeremiah Estrada had the save chance with Robert Suarez unavailable. Estrada got the final out of the 8th inning. He was back on the mound for the 9th.
The 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. He got him. Padres win 8-6.
An 8-6 win for the Padres as they win a second consecutive game against Miami. Padres now going for a 3-game sweep with first pitch coming up at 1:10 p.m. As we get ready for this one here at Petco Park, let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Bob Scanlon in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Scan, before we get to today's pitching matchup and what we can expect in this series finale, I wanted to revisit the night for Ronny Simon yesterday, because for the Marlins second baseman, obviously a very difficult night, very emotional night, and a lot of credit to that young man. He stood in front of reporters at his locker inside the Marlins clubhouse this morning, answered questions. We'll play some of what he had to say a little bit later, and one of the really interesting parts of it was he talked about hearing from guys like Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Luis Ariz after the game, those guys reaching out, expressing their support for a young major league player. And Scans, you played in the major leagues. Can you take us inside the mentality of players in general as far as the camaraderie between guys, even, when you're facing a team the next day, but, kind of the brotherhood, I suppose, that players have, and kind of what that could mean to a young guy in Simon?
It's a great point, Sam. And actually last night I was hoping that might happen, that he might hear from some fellow players, not just in his own clubhouse, but in the other side as well. So when I heard the report that he had heard from Ariz and Tatis and Machado, I mean, especially Manny, who, future Hall of Famer, most likely, a Gold Glove winner, and made 3 errors in a ball game the other day. So, I mean, to have those guys reach out to you means a lot. And, watching Ronny on the field today, he was still getting some hugs from the coaching staff and from some of his teammates. So, nobody wants to go through that. And I think everybody could sort of empathize. Any player who's been on the field has had bad moments, and they could feel what he was feeling right there. It just warmed my heart to know that the baseball community, as you mentioned, reached out to this young man and just kind of put their arms around him and say, hey, man, we've been there, and it's tough. And, it's your first time in the big leagues. You've spent your entire career, years in the minor leagues to get this opportunity, and you finally do. In the 19th game of your big league career, you have a tough night like that. So it just reminds me that this is a fraternity. It's a really close and tight-knit fraternity, and as much as guys are competitors on the field, and that never changes and is never compromised, at the same time, they're human beings, and I think we all sort of understand how tough this game can be. And I think that's the one thing that we always, as players, sort of understand and appreciate and respect. So we obviously wish better times for him, and hopefully he'll play like the player he can play, because he's been a superstar down in the Dominican Republic for many years. So the kid can play. But to your point, Sam, it was just heartwarming for me to know that the baseball community reached out, and that brotherhood will always be there, and hopefully helps them through what was a tough night last night.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I'll be rooting for Ronny Simon. He did a great job today speaking in front of reporters, and I thought had a lot of insightful things to say. And again, we'll play some of that for you a little bit later in our pregame coverage. As far as the pitching matchup here today, Kyle Hart back up from AAA to make his start, with Michael King going on the IL a handful of days ago. Hart was a little bit up and down, Scans, his first time with the Padres in the major leagues this season. 3 pretty solid starts, 2 starts that were quite a bit rougher. What will you be looking for here today as Kyle Hart returns to the major leagues?
Yeah, so to your point, we saw moments where he was really good and some outings where he really wasn't. And I think it all comes down to command, especially for him. He's not a pure stuff guy, right? I mean, he's not going to rear back and fire 98 miles an hour past guys and speed up their bats with that to give him more freedom on off-speed pitches. He's got to command everything. He's got to work all parts of the zone. He needs to use the off-speed pitches to both sides. I know the Padres worked with him during spring training on elevating a little bit more with some of the fastball just to change the eye level, because in Korea I think he was mostly down and able to get away with that. So it's just a different process here, different caliber of hitter, and you've got to be able to do different things with your pitch selection. So I know when he went down, they gave him some things to work on. He was giving it a try down there, had some nice numbers down in AAA, which is not easy. Even though it's AAA in the Pacific Coast League. The ball jumps in that league. So, hopefully he comes back and he has one of what we've seen, so those 3 good outings, which was good command, using the off-speed pitches to both sides of the plate. And, the one thing he does well, and we'll talk about this more in the broadcast, is really what works well when he's behind in the count. So he's not a guy that has to go strike one, and if he doesn't, look out. He knows how to pitch behind, and he proved that his first time up here, and we'll see if he can do it again today.
On the other side of this pitching matchup, Scans, Sandy Alcantara on the mound for Miami. And when Sandy went on the IL and got Tommy John surgery. He was one of the best starting pitchers in Major League Baseball, 2022 National League Cy Young Award winner. Although this season, especially as of late, it has not gone well. What can you tell us about what's going on right now with Sandy Alcantara?
Yeah, I think everyone's trying to figure it out, Sam. And First of all, he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. So the first thing you know is usually the command is not as good. The stuff is there. And everyone says, oh, yeah, I came back from Tommy John surgery. I'm throwing 97, 98 miles an hour again. And he is doing that. But it's more than that, right? It's that fine command that is really the last thing to show up for pitchers after they come back from Tommy John. And he's no exception, even though he still has the blistering fastball. Hasn't had the same command of it. And that has, in turn, not given him as much breathing room on the changeup. He's been trying to incorporate a new curveball this year. That kind of has been a little bit iffy, I think, in terms of maybe not necessarily the quality of the pitch, but when you're introducing something new, how do I use this? When do I use this? And again, not having great command of anything right now, like great command of a new pitch also. So I think there's a lot of things going in to what he's been struggling with. And I'm very curious to see his outing today because, as you pointed out, this is a guy that won the Cy Young just a few years ago. And he's a possible trade chip for the Marlins, so they need him to do well. He wants to do well. Is that part of it also, him putting too much pressure on himself, knowing that, he's going to be shopped around? So, a lot of factors physically and psychologically potentially. See what he shows us today.
All right, Scans, very good insight as always. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at 1 p.m. as the Padres go for a fourth consecutive win and a 3-game sweep of the Fish. As always, thanks so much.
Good talking with you, Sam.
All right, Bob Scanlon joining us on our Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. Again, Sandy Alcantara on the mound for the 21-32 Miami Marlins. Left-hander Kyle Hart back up from AAA El Paso on the mound for the 31-22 San Diego Padres. By the way, the corresponding move, Omar Cruz optioned back down to the minor leagues to make room on the active 26-man roster for Kyle Hart. A quick look at the Padres lineup here today. Looks like this, little bit different in a couple of spots. Fernando Tatis Jr. DHing and leading off. Luis Ariz at first base batting second. Manny Machado at third base batting third. Jackson Merrill in center batting cleanup. Gavin Sheets, the left fielder, batting fifth. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop batting sixth. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting seventh. Tyler Wade getting the start in right today batting eighth. And Elias Diaz behind the plate and batting ninth with, again, left-hander Kyle Hart making his sixth start in the brown and gold. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll also tell you who's hot, who's not. A look at some headlines from around the major leagues. Much, much more to do on our pregame coverage. You're tuned in to our Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network.
Stay tuned to the
Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we continue to walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 1:10 as the Padres go for a 3-game sweep against the Miami Marlins. Right-hander Sandy Alcantara on the mound for Miami. Left-hander Kyle Hart on the mound for San Diego. We'll hear from Marlins infielder Ronny Simon in just a moment. I do want to play that audio from earlier today because it was really insightful from a guy who had a really tough night in the major leagues. A young player, as we talked about with Bob Scanlon a little bit earlier, that had just a tough night and I thought was really impressive answering questions in front of his locker earlier today. So we'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
As we've alluded to a handful of times, left-hander Kyle Hart on the mound for the Padres today, coming back up to the major leagues from AAA El Paso. Here was Mike Shildt on his expectations for Kyle Hart here today.
No different than any starting pitcher we have, but Hardy's done a nice job. He started the season with us. I was impressed by his ability to adapt to the organization, get better as the spring training went, come in. The starts got better as he went. Also, I was really pleased and impressed by his ability to accept but not like going to El Paso and getting some work in. But he's done it, similar to Steven. Steven didn't break with the club, but went down and had the right mindset about, improving his craft. From all reports, Hart's done the same thing, and so I expect something similar that, Steven's done and come up and give us a chance to win a big league ball game.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today, or I should say yesterday, actually, inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game coverage coming up later on this afternoon as we get ready for this series finale. We go out to Bob Scanlon and Tony Gwynn Jr. at 1 o'clock, very top of the hour, and then first pitch coming your way at 1:10. Well, we've mentioned it a handful of times. It was a really tough emotional night for Ronny Simon, the Marlins second baseman, in yesterday's game. Committed 3 errors, and if you were watching on TV, and we talked about it post-game as well, were tears in his eyes at one point after he was really struggling defensively. Ultimately came out of the game. He came out of the game after an inning and went right down into the tunnel and towards the Marlins clubhouse. And look, you just felt bad for a kid that was trying to do his best and having a really rough night in the major leagues. And I thought he did a great job today answering questions in front of his locker inside the Marlins clubhouse. Here was Ronny Simon with the media earlier today after last night, what went on. And look, obviously the errors did help the Padres get back in the game and ultimately tie the game and take the lead. But here was Ronny Simon inside the clubhouse with the media, including myself.
The first thing is going to be say thank God for everything, just everything coming about from him. So a lot of emotion like yesterday because the game is more important. It's scared for me. So we have made 3 errors over there. So I feel bad and stuff like that one, but that's going to happen in the game. I know just try to keep working hard every day. Just I'm going to the field and try to be better every day. It doesn't matter what happens. So for my teammates, I want to support me. Everybody's going to test me. Some people is going to hug. It's my first time in my career that's going to happen in the big league. So just I'm trying to be improve every day and try to be winning from my team and help for my team to be better. Just that's going to happen.
What can you share with us about the way your teammates supported you right after the inning ended?
No, a lot of persons gonna told me that's gonna happen. This what you calling on to the big league. So that's gonna happen in the first time in your career. So just keeping head up. Doesn't matter what happened. Just that's at the past or the base. And tomorrow is another day. Just keep shining. I'm not players. I'm happy. I'm trying to be help to my team. I'm gonna enjoy the game and have fun. That's all what the guy he told me about. Like that's gonna happen like yesterday.
You were just texting with Luis Castillo, a Marlin great. Just what did it mean to you to receive a text message for him? What can you share with us about what he shared with you?
It's a lot. It's more important for me because veteran guys, some people's hand is gonna can keep your hand up. My child he texted me last night that is a rise. A lot of people is gonna be texting me last night. Some guys coming front to my room and hey, doesn't matter. Just wanna keeping head up, keep working hard. Uh, I'm trying to be better. There's a lot of emotion into to my myself, and then just uh, something happened like that.
Ronnie, you said that some of the Padres players texted you as well. Do you have before yesterday like a relationship with any of those guys? Do you know those guys well?
I know Tatis, I know Arise, but I never talked to some guys. So yesterday when something happened over there, the like reaction over there and everything just test me in the night. Machado, Tatis, Arise, Robinson Cano, he called me too. A lot of guys, everybody gonna text me. I don't respond because I was a little bit more emotional in my room. So I have a lot of messages in my phone too. And just the only thing I say thank you for everybody, like because you wanna so support to me. I love everybody who wanna text me. I know he's Kurt right now, so uh, thank you.
That was Marlins infielder Ronny Simon earlier today after that rough night in the field yesterday. And I thought he did, again, a really good job getting up there and talking in front of reporters. And thought it was awesome to hear that he heard from guys like Manny and Arise and Tatis and those guys reaching out, showing their support like we talked about with Bob Scanlon earlier in the pregame coverage. Very cool to see the brotherhood, the camaraderie these guys have, and certainly wish Ronny Simon the best moving forward. You don't root for him today against the Padres if he gets into the game, but certainly moving forward, that was very, very impressive by him. Nice job by Ronny Simon earlier today. First pitch coming up at 1:10. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
In the hot category, we focus on Manny Machado in the midst of a 5-game hitting streak, 8 for 19 in that span with 3 home runs, a double, 4 RBIs, and 5 runs scored. His .316 batting average ranks 4th in the NL entering today. In the not category, we take a look at the Padres catchers, Elias Diaz, who makes the start today, just 5 for his last 37. Martin Maldonado, 0 for his last 12. And that's a quick look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 1:10. Now let's take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Let's begin with some bad news for the Houston Astros. Right-hander Ronel Blanco will have Tommy John surgery on his right elbow next week and miss the remainder of the season. The starter had sought a second opinion after being placed on the IL last week with inflammation in the elbow, and Ronel Blanco will have Tommy John surgery. Bryce Harper got hit by a pitch yesterday, got him in the elbow, and there is some concern there with Bryce Harper. Left yesterday's game a 2-0 Phillies win against the Braves. He was hit in the right elbow by a 95-mile-per-hour fastball from Braves starter Spencer Strider. X-rays were negative, and Bryce Harper was in a lot of pain. We'll see if there are any lingering effects from that. Texas Rangers right-hander Nathan Eovaldi was removed from a start last night against the Blue Jays after 2 innings as a precaution because of tricep fatigue. Eovaldi doesn't expect to miss his next scheduled start we'll see what the deal ends up being with Eovaldi, but he was removed from the game yesterday. Sounds like the Rangers are optimistic about Eovaldi moving forward. Earlier, and we'll get to the board coming up a little bit later, but earlier in the day, game between the Dodgers and the Guardians, Stephen Kwan came out of the game for the Guardians with right wrist inflammation. Obviously, Kwan, a very, very important player for Cleveland, so he came out of today's game with right wrist inflammation. And again, we'll take a look at that Dodgers-Cleveland game coming up later in the out-of-town scoreboard and give you a full look around the major leagues. When we come back, we'll hear from today's right fielder, Tyler Wade. We'll also hear from left-hander Kyle Hart a little bit later as well. First pitch coming up at 1:10 as the Padres look for a fourth consecutive win and a 3-game sweep of Miami. Our Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after these words on the Padres Radio Network.
Hello, my friends. It's Woodsy. Did you?
Welcome back to the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show. Ecowater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Sam Levitt with you inside the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park as we get ready for today's game coming up at 1:10 p.m. Right-hander Sandy Alcantara on the mound for Miami. Left-hander Kyle Hart makes the start for San Diego. I will tell you, if you're on the way to the game right now or if you haven't left home yet, make sure you bring a little jacket or a sweatshirt. It is cloudy and a little bit chilly here in downtown San Diego on this early Wednesday afternoon. So make sure you bring something long-sleeved if you can. Make sure you're warm enough to enjoy the ball game here today as the Padres go for a 3-game sweep. Let's give you the latest on our injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Let's do sort of a full update on the various pitching injuries the Padres are dealing with right now. As we know, Michael King put on the IL over the weekend with right shoulder inflammation. He was scratched from his scheduled start on Saturday in Atlanta. We heard from Mike Shildt yesterday. Club is still looking into the specifics of the injury and haven't heard from Michael King yet on it. We'll see if we can hear from him at some point over the weekend, but still in the discovery phase of what's going on with Michael King. Yu Darvish continuing to hopefully work his way back from dealing with this right elbow inflammation. We know that he played catch once again a couple of days ago at Petco Park, and Mike Shildt has said he is making steps forward. Matt Waldron made a rehab start, too, with AA San Antonio. And as we heard earlier this week, he should progress to AAA El Paso for his next rehab start. Brian Hoeing also made a couple of appearances with AA San Antonio. He also is moving his rehab to AAA El Paso. So that's what's going on. Hoeing and Waldron on the way back. We continue to wait for more information about Darvish and King. And that's a roundup of all the different pitching injury news as of late for the Padres. Well, taking a look at the Padres lineup today, Tyler Wade in right field batting eighth. Fernando Tatis Jr. getting a day off his feet. He's DHing and leading off. I had a chance to speak with Tyler Wade earlier inside the Padres clubhouse, and I talked to Tyler about a number of different things, including Tyler transitioning back into what his role has generally been. As far as going from somebody who, when the Padres had a number of injuries, was starting a lot, did a great job in that starting capacity. Now back in the role where he's called upon as needed, could come for defense, could come as a pinch runner, could come in a spot start like it's come the last couple of days. Here was Tyler Wade and I inside the clubhouse earlier.
There were some rough moments on the road trip for you guys as a team. Finished it up with a really nice win. When you're going through a rougher stretch as a group, from your perspective as somebody I know who has a big influence on this clubhouse, how do you kind of keep things positive, keep vibes high?
It's baseball, man. I think everybody knows in this game that rough stretches are going to happen over a course of 162. And we happen just to run into some really good teams and really good pitching. I feel like we are still playing pretty decent baseball. It just things were going our way. And I think it shows the resilience in the group to go into Atlanta, who got Acuna back, and they have a really good team and going in there and taking the series. So I think, like I said, it shows the resilience in this group and the togetherness of this group that every day is a new day, and you just take on that challenge.
From that perspective of the mentality of this group, I mean, even last year, you were here all year, you know, kind of an up and down first half, then you take off in the second half. How do you kind of, I guess, form an identity throughout the course of a season?
Well, I think we formed that identity in that second half last year, and it's rolled into this year. Is every day is a new day, like I just said, and we were really good at learning from it and pushing that aside and then tackling the challenge of the next day. We're not thinking about the series that we've lost or won. It's just, all right, who's in front of us today? And then that's all we worry about.
Tyler, you and I talked a lot about your routine, your preparation last year. Obviously, when guys were on the IL, you stepped up in a huge way and played real as this team needed guys to step up, fill roles in a starting capacity. When you sort of transition back to kind of that do everything role, you know, get into the game when you're called upon, how do you transition back to that from a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint?
Just staying crisp mentally, man. Just knowing where your lanes are coming into the game and just really honing in on your routines and staying focused on what you need to do to contribute that day and just kind of playing manager in your head. And Shildt does a good job of communicating that with me. And I, being with him all last year, I kind of have an idea of what he's thinking and what Espo's thinking. So we're really on the same page, and it's just picking my times where I need to get hot and be ready for that moment.
That was Tyler Wade inside the Padres clubhouse earlier. Wade is in right field for the Padres today and batting eighth. First pitch coming up at 1:10. Let's give you our keys to this series finale.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number one, more from the core. When you think about the core players of the Padres lineup entering this season, you think about 6 names, right? Tatis, Arraez, Machado, Merrill, Bogarts, and Crow. Well, last night, those 6 players had 12 hits with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. Arraez had 3 hits. Bogarts had 3. Tatis had a homer. Merrill hit a homer. When the Padres core guys hit like that, they're hard to beat. Need the core to perform well today against Sandy Alcantara and the Marlins in this series finale. Key number 2, Runners in scoring position. Yes, I know I've been a broken record as of late, but hey, it's got to continue to be a key. Padres have gone just 5 for 28 with runners in scoring position in this series. Altogether, the Padres are 9 for 85 with runners in scoring position in their last 10 games. That's a 106 batting average. Padres won last night's game, but they only went 4 for 17 with RISP. And I mentioned this yesterday. I'll say it again today. It's time to start producing more in those spots because after this week, the schedule gets a lot tougher. Starting next week, the Padres play games against the Giants and the Dodgers 11 times in 17 games. Key number 3, power of the pen. The Padres bullpen has been really, really good in this 3-game win streak. The Padres pen is not allowed to run in 12 innings and a third over the last 3 games. Padres won all 3. And today, the Padres bullpen should be pretty fresh. Robert Suarez, Jason Adam, and Adrian Morahone all didn't pitch in yesterday's game. So another good day for the bullpen would go a long way in this one. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. And we'll tell you what to watch for coming up in our next segment. Let's take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We do have a number of finals already today in the major leagues. Rays beat the Twins 5-0 in Tampa Bay. Tigers beat the Giants 4-3 in Detroit. Guardians beat the Dodgers. Good news there, 7-4 in Cleveland. 1 game postponed. Braves and the Phillies in Philadelphia. They'll make that up as part of a doubleheader tomorrow in Philly. White Sox leading the Mets 8-3 in New York in the 8th inning right now. Red Sox and the Brewers tied at 4 in Milwaukee in the 9th inning. A's lead the Astros 3-2 in Houston in the 6th inning. Pirates and Diamondbacks are scoreless in Arizona in the 1st. Games coming up, Cardinals and the Orioles at 3:35, Reds and the Royals in Kansas City at 4:40, Rockies at Wrigley Field against the Cubs at 5:05, Blue Jays and the Rangers in Arlington at 5:05, Yankees and the Angels at 6:38 in Anaheim, and finally Nationals and the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Wednesday. When we come back, we'll hear from today's starting pitcher, Kyle Hart. Much more to do as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 1:10 here at Petco Park on the Padres Radio Network.
You're listening.
Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. First pitch at 1:10. We go out to the broadcast booth with Bob Scanlon and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a little bit. Left-hander Kyle Hart on the mound for the Padres today. Right-hander Sandy Alcantara on the mound for Miami. We'll have more on that pitching matchup in just a moment. First, let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game? Can the Padres avoid playing from behind today? Padres have won 3 in a row. They have all been comeback wins, which is great. You love to come back in games, but it is a dangerous way to live. And in this series, it's been the same thing. The Marlins have scored all their runs in the first 2 games of this series. 9 of them, they've been scored in the first 2 innings of each of the first 2 games. Padres then have outscored the Marlins 9-0 after the second in this series. So can the Padres grab a lead, avoid the Marlins having a big inning or 2 early on? Can they play from ahead? Not that you don't like comeback wins, you do, but it's kind of a dangerous way to live. So what to watch for in today's game? Can the Padres flip that trend around? Take an early lead, put up some zeros early on. We'll see if they can do that against Miami in this series finale. Well, one guy that will be very much responsible for if the Padres can take a lead is left-hander Kyle Hart. On the mound today for the Padres, Hart coming up from AAA El Paso, back in the major leagues to make today's start. Here was Kyle Hart inside the clubhouse talking about what he was working on at AAA.
Some usage decisions, where and when to throw certain pitches, without getting too specific. But that's kind of what it was, more of a usage thing, and making good decisions specifically to right-handed hitters.
I know obviously you didn't want to go back down, but is there any silver lining to have the experience you did up here, be able to go work on some stuff and now come back?
Yeah, I think I definitely had the right mindset going down there, was just get better. And I know that the work that, I was putting in with the pitching department there was real, and I gave my best every single day. So, I can definitely say that, I'm proud of that fact, and definitely ready to go out and compete tomorrow.
Is it helpful as you come back now to the major league level to pitch in the final game of a series where you can get a look at this Marlins lineup a couple of days in a row?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I've already kind of gone over most of it, to be honest. Got a good athletic team, probably going to see 6, if not 7 right-handed hitters. So going to kind of be thrown into the fire right away in terms of adjusting and making good pitches to the righties.
I'm sure you never want to see injuries, but how important was it for you to just stay focused for whenever that call did come for you?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to come up because somebody got hurt, especially a guy like Michael King. He's arguably the best pitcher that we have, if not one of the best in the league, somebody that we're going to need. So right now, Mike needs a rest, and I'm here to give my best and help compete and win games for the Padres. So, yeah, it's a tough spot to be in because you're just waiting for somebody to fail. You're waiting for someone to get hurt. You're waiting for a trade. You don't know what you're waiting for, and just happy to be here. Get back with the guys and go out and compete with them.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, you just heard from him, left-hander Kyle Hart on the mound for the Padres today. The 32-year-old in 5 starts in 2025 before being optioned down to AAA. He had a 6 ERA in 21 innings, 23 hits given up, 16 strikeouts, and 6 walks. His last major league start in Detroit on April 23rd, he went 4 innings and a third, 2 earned runs given up on 5 hits. Hart had 3 pretty solid starts in the major leagues where he threw a combined 15-plus innings and allowed 4 earned runs. Then he had a couple of rougher outings, that one in Chicago where he gave up 5 earned runs in just 2/3 of an inning, one in Houston where he gave up 5 earned runs on 10 hits in 5 innings. His 4 starts with AAA El Paso went well. The 2.29 ERA in 19-plus innings, only 12 hits allowed. Meanwhile, on the mound for Miami, right-hander Sandy Alcantara, the 2022 National League Cy Young Award winner Alcantara lost to the Angels last Friday, gave up 6 runs, 5 earned runs in 5+ innings. It's been rough for Sandy Alcantara so far this year for a guy that typically is really, really good. He is 0-7 with a 9.66 ERA. In his last 7 starts, Alcantara will look to avoid becoming the first pitcher in Marlins history to lose 8 consecutive starts. Alcantara has given up 42 earned runs in 47 innings this season. For context, during that 2022 National League Cy Young Award season, he gave up 58 earned runs in 228+ innings. So it's been a very different Alcantara. Keep an eye on Manny Machado. He's 6 for 9 with 6 singles in 12 career plate appearances against Sandy Alcantara. As always, thank you for listening to the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show. Ecowater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. When we come back, we go out to Bob Scanlon and Tony Gwynn Jr. They have the first pitch and all the play-by-play coming up. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network.
The days of waiting weeks or even months for new countertops is over. The Window Depot has a wide selection of in-stock granite and quartz countertops so you can upgrade your kitchen or bathroom